Newport's original NK communication cable connectors meet all performance requirements, but if you're looking to upgrade to a larger plug that's a little easier to use, a little more robust, and holds up really well over long-term use, we've got the NK communication cable HD kit for you. It's a really easy assembly and installation. I'm going to show you how to do it in a few simple steps. The NK HD communication cable kit comes with a pre-assembled cable kit featuring M12 plugs that you'll eventually use to connect and disconnect your system with. The kit also comes with 2 pre-cut lengths of adhesive-lined heat shrink and a bit of Loctite for a single drop on the threads of the M8 connectors, which will become permanent installations. I like to apply heat to the heat shrink when it comes to that step with a heat gun, not a torch or a lighter. It's just a lot more safe and protects the cable sheathing. I also like to use a pair of gloves just to protect my fingers. Before I get started with the install, I'm going to remove the original cable from the throttle controller and the motor end. This is where your installation of the M8 connectors is going to become permanent. So take this apart, inspect the connectors and the contacts. If you need to use some electrical contact cleaner, and apply a small dab of dielectric grease before you start the installation process. This is just going to help shed moisture if anything happens to get in there. The first step in the process is to slide the pre-cut length of heat shrink over the M8 connector and slide it all the way down onto the cable sheath. And do the same thing on the other end of the assembly. Put that over. And that's there so that it's ready to be shrunk down over the connection once you put the Loctite on the threads and adjoin the 2 M8s. When you're applying the Loctite, it's important to not overdo it. All you need is a single drop right on the threads. And then I'm going to come up here, align the contact configuration, plug it in. I'm going to tighten this down. And I'm not going to shrink it up yet. I'm going to work with the Loctite on the other end, but I'm just going to slide that right over the assembly so it's ready for the heat. Next, I'm going to come to my controller. I'm going to put a single drop right there, right on the threads. I'm going to join the 2 halves, tighten it down. And as you tighten that down, it's going to spread the Loctite evenly across the threads. Slide your heat shrink over the assembly here, almost all the way up to the controller end. I'm going to use the heat gun on a low setting. This is a little easier to work with and helps protect the cable sheathing. So I'm just going to give that a second to heat up. And what I'm going to do is apply the heat from the center out. As I'm doing that, I'm going to kind of rotate the heat gun and the cable so I can apply even heat all the way around. Make sure that you move the heat gun back and forth as to not apply too much heat consistently in one part. The low heat setting takes a little bit more time to shrink up the heat shrink, but it is a little bit safer to work with. And just be patient. Once you see that shrink down evenly on the cable, it's all finished. So I'm going to move from the center on out to this other end. And you can even choose to use a little heat shield. A little putty knife works really well right up against the controller body. Once you've got that shrunk down, go ahead and lay that flat so it can cool, and the adhesive gets nice and hard. It'll cool in a nice straight line. And what I like to do to create a little more working room is just to pull this spiral wrap off. Gives me a little bit longer tag end to work with. Just kind of freeze this up a little bit. I'm going to do the same thing and apply the heat. I like to try to prop this up and keep that heat shrink while it's cooling as straight as possible. This will give me a nice straight line in the cable. Give it about 5 minutes, it'll be nice and cooled off and ready to use. After that, when you connect and disconnect your cables, now you're using a bigger connector. It's easier to use, easier to tighten down. The bigger parts hold up really well over long-term hard use. So that's the NK HD communication cable kit. I hope this was helpful. Have fun out there, and remember, the way forward is electric.